Foreign ministers from Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand, but not Myanmar, are meeting tomorrow to address what is a clear humanitarian challenge for the region. And it couldn't come any sooner for my next guest. Charles Santiago is the chairman of the ASEAN Parliamentarians for Human Rights, and he says the response so far has been inhumane and atrocious. He joined me earlier from the site of tomorrow's meeting, Kuala Lumpur.
Well, this is, as you point out, a clear challenge for ASEAN and its future and the character of the regional organization. ASEAN promotes itself as an organization that promotes rule of law, democracy, a sharing and caring society, a people-centered ASEAN. Now is the time to realize that. Now is the time to bell the cat, because this is really a challenge whereby the most vulnerable community in the region is now seeking help. And this is not just any kind of help, it's about life and death. So the problem, as you mentioned, is a long-term solution, because we have a problem with Myanmar, and Myanmar does not consider the Rohingyans as their citizens. In fact, they are stateless people, people who have been put in camps, people who have been denied health care, education, the women raped, and therefore they are not in a pretty situation. So this has got a short-term impact and a long-term impact. The short-term impact would be to give them some kind of a temporary protection, a humanitarian protection, so that they can be safe, they don't die in the seas of the Andaman Islands. The long-term solution would be for ASEAN to put pressure on the Myanmar government to make sure that these people, their political reforms and citizenship is given. But I also think at this time, the countries like the United States and China, specifically China, needs to put pressure on the Myanmarese authorities, because these two countries have a lot of sway, political sway with Myanmar, and therefore I think they have to come to help the people who are now fighting for their lives.
Right, but fundamentally, this is a regional problem. It originates in Myanmar. And my understanding is that Myanmar is not attending this special meeting in Kuala Lumpur. How can you get anything done when the main actor is not even present? And why are they not attending?
Well, that's the question you have to ask the Myanmar government. But clearly, as I pointed out elsewhere, that it's actually quite shameful that the country where the source of the problem lies will not be coming for this meeting. And therefore, the effectiveness of a long-term solution will be in question. However, I think this meeting tomorrow and the meeting that will take place in Bangkok next week will look at short-term solutions to protect and ensure that the people on the boats, anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000, do not die. This is the short-term challenge.
Now, Charles Santiago, you are a member of parliament in Malaysia from the opposition. So the current government, when asked to comment on this, essentially said, we're aware this is a humanitarian disaster. We will not tolerate any sort of human trafficking, not really commenting on potential solutions. Do you think your government is doing enough here?
Well, I think our government can do more. One, our government can put lots of pressure. As the chair of the ASEAN for 2015, can put pressure on Myanmar. Number two, to get the region to sign on to an anti-trafficking declaration, which is binding. And more importantly, Malaysia at this moment can actually allow the Rohingyans to land in Malaysia and to provide them with shelter. And therefore, Malaysia should lead by example. And that's the challenge for Malaysia. And I hope our Prime Minister and the meeting tomorrow will see such a resolution.
Charles Santiago, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for talking to me.